Sergeant Riley slipped on Hari, having sold a false bill of goods. Having grown up in the slums of Krentori, a megacity on Chill itself, Slip was raised on the belief that she would go nowhere and amount to nothing. Her mother had dumped her on her father's doorstep shortly after birth, and fucked off to Empress knows where. The revolving door of disgusting women her father brought home at all hours of the night had turned her off from the idea of relationships at an early age. Her parental neglect, along with her mother's genetics, had stunted her growth, leaving her a paltry 6'3". The other girls at the shitty inner-city school she had to attend constantly poked fun at her, calling her names like short stuff and small tits. Goddess, she hated her life. The only points of brightness in her youthful days were the shitty chit store novels that she managed to steal from the small shops that dotted the crime-riddled streets, despite the danger. They always told stories of some worthless, good-for-nothing nerd or street girl meeting a handsome male who took care of them and loved them despite their flaws. The image presented of a one-girl kind of man was an idea she cherished, despite her father telling her that she should just accept the first man that paid her any mind. She was a dirty midget from the slums, after all, with a small chest to boot. She found that her small frame and quick reflexes were good for a certain line of work, on the other hand. Slowly, over the years, she learned to steal anything that wasn't nailed down, all without getting caught. Food was stolen from stores, electronics taken from people's homes, and if she was feeling brave, even chit cars from passers-by. She got away with everything, never getting caught by anyone important enough to actually do anything about her mild kleptomania. Yes, she spent a night or two in the trunk box from time to time, but ultimately the system didn't care about one poor slum chum stealing from another. She continued her winning streak, even after getting kicked out of her father's house when she turned 11, sleeping on rooftops, shelters, and the houses of an occasional friend. That is, at least, until she bit the pocket of a woman in some military uniform that looked different than any she'd seen before. The woman had caught her hand in her pocket and grinned sadistically as she gazed upon Slip, who used the moment to wrench her hand free and sprint away from the terrifying soldier. Running through the winding alleyways, small streets, and rooftops of the slum, she was sure she had lost her pursuer as she set up for the evening in an out-of-the-way alley. The alley put her back to a 20-foot composite wall one side, and a 90-degree bend in the small cut between two shopping complexes, obscuring her from the streets on the other. As she rested from her nearly 3 miles of running, a dark figure emerged from the bend. The soldier from earlier held a solitary hand up in the air, the other holding a nomad. A small buzzing reverberated off the walls of the alley as a palm-sized drone landed in the woman's outstretched hand. Stepping into a section where the moonlight illuminated her face, she had smiled at Slip. "Sorry for the wait. You're faster than I gave you credit for. In truth, you almost gave me the slip." Exhaling, she continued. "So, tell me, how'd you like to get off this rock?" From then forth, Slip had lived the life of a DevSec commando, her ideals of romance long forgotten, until she and Needle were stuck on a mountaintop together for days on end. Their romance had been somewhat lacking, however, needing the male touch Needle had often remarked. When they got the call to deploy to the world where men were supposedly both eager and unused to having multiple women simultaneously, Slip had secretly hoped to bring one home with her and Needle, and maybe convince her partner to retire somewhere far away from the life she had known growing up. "At least I got part of my wish," she thought, as she took another drag from the bottle of hard liquor, leaning against Adam's door. She knew that losing her teammate was a real possibility, but the revelation of the sniper's death had still hit her hard. When she had first met Adam, all she could think about was how the Major had just replaced Needle with a local, not even taking the time to consider how it would make her feel. She deserved the situation she found herself in now, she supposed. She had acted out against him when he first arrived and got paired with her for the fateful day in Cheyenne, even going so far as to threaten his life when he was only being nice. His display on the shuttle, his unflinching gaze down the scope of the rifle as he focused on saving her team, barely noticing the rounds that slapped by his head, had thawed her anger, however. He deserved to be on this team. She didn't understand herself, why she had then foisted him into Needle's bunk and let him occupy the same space in her mind as her late lover. He just fit, she supposed. And that's why she was drunk, at 2 a.m, in front of her old lover's room. When she had felt unsettled or depressed in the past, she could always just crawl into bed with Needle and be held, without judgment, until sleep finally took her. But the room wasn't Needle's anymore, as evidenced by the human and large-chested idiot that slept next to him. Fucking bitch, she thought, taking a swig of her drink as she did so. Has the audacity to make bedroom eyes at him during the one Empress damn time I actually get him to myself. She had seen red at the end of their fight, lashing out at the male harder than she intended, and inadvertently pushed him straight into the arms of Ferry. Now tear-steep in her self-pity party, she nearly shot to her feet in shock when the door behind her opened. Adam walked out, drenched in sweat from what she assumed was his activities with Varilla. Activities, she believed, that could have been hers if she just hadn't been such a bitch towards him. She turned her teary gaze away from him, hoping he'd just ignore her now that he had his partner. If he talked to her right now, the word vomit would start, as it always did when she felt vulnerable. Slip, he said in a soothing voice. You okay? No, she thought. Of course I'm not, you idiot. You chose that bitch over me. At the same time, however, her inebriated brain lost its filter. It was my turn, she heard herself say bitterly. Oh no, she lamented in her head. It's starting. What? He said, seeming confused. Fuck it, can't stop now. Yesterday, when we were sparring, that was my time with you, she said, beginning to sob uncontrollably. And then she just had to swoop in and ogle you in the first time I've actually had you to myself since Earth, she managed between gasping sobs. She felt his hand wrap under her armpit and lift her up to her feet, looking her in the eyes. He seemed to assess her condition. He reached down and took the bottle from her grasp as he said, Let's go for a walk. Slip managed to nod at this, allowing him to wrap his arm under hers to support her. It felt nice having a man care for a slumrat like herself, even if it wasn't in the way she desired. Once they made it down the steps and out of the building into the brisk night air, he sighed and asked, So, your time, eh? Slip winced at his knowing gaze, but began to blubber anyway. Yeah, she should have known. She's had boyfriends before. When a woman gets a turn with a man, the time is hers to do with as she pleases. I shouldn't be forced to share like that, she said, barely avoiding the sauce from earlier, and... I'm sorry, I just saw red and reacted and I just... Slip, are you talking about when you caught me off guard in the ring? Yes. I'm just such an idiot, and I pushed you straight into her arms. You were actually paying attention to me, she said, looking down before continuing. No guy's ever paid attention to my gutter trash ass before. What in the world makes you think you're gutter trash? Said Adam cheerily. She just vomited out her story at that point. Her life, her father, the girls at school, and much to her shame, the cheesy novel she'd read growing up. God, she was never going to forgive herself in the morning. Hopefully she'd just forget this whole blunder, and act like it never happened. Adam took a deep swig of her drink, much to her surprise, and spoke. Slip, you've been a good friend since Cheyenne. I understand how you feel. Oh, great, she thought. I'm being clam-trapped and dropped into the just-a-friend zone. I'd be lying if I said that I wasn't attracted to you, but I'm with Ferry, and I can't just throw that away. What? Her mind came to a screeching halt. This man actually wanted her? She actually had a shot to be his? No, I'm not going to let him get away, she thought, deciding to make her move. Stopping in her tracks, she grabbed the dense man and pulled him in for a kiss. To her half surprise, he kissed back, pulling her into himself for a moment before pushing away. Fuck! Fuck, 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 thought Adam. Was all it took to get him to a borderline cheat on his brand new girlfriend, a swig of booze and a pretty face? It had been mere moments since he broke the kiss with Slip, and he was angry with himself for kissing back. She now seemed simultaneously sad that he broke the kiss, and proud of herself for the kiss he gave back. Slip, he said, looking deep into her golden eyes, the pale moonlight illuminating her almost pink skin, now tinged with blue noticeably. That shouldn't have happened. I'm sorry. Shouldn't it? She asked petulantly. No, it shouldn't. I broke Ferry's trust just now, and I'm not about that. Mandantists can share. We do that, you know, she said, seeming both hopeful and mildly obstinate. Nope, I'm not going to betray her like that, he said, hurling the nearly empty bottle off into the distance. I'm going back to bed. No more alcohol for either of us tonight, okay? She was about to continue, but Adam turned and speedwalked back to the dormitory hallway. He was going to tell his girlfriend what happened and beg for her forgiveness. He'd just allowed her in, and now he felt like he'd gone and screwed everything up. Frey was awake in his bed, seated in the middle, clearly wondering where her lover had gone. Shutting the door, he started. Ferry, we need to talk. Okay, she said, seeming pensive. What's wrong? I had a nightmare. I decided to clear my head by taking a walk. Slip was, outside the door when I left. She seemed upset, so I took her with me, he said, exhaling and running his hand through his hair. She kind of poured her heart out to me. She was upset about you stepping in her turn during the sparring match the other day, and after I tried to talk her up, she, kissed me, and I kind of kissed her back. Ferry took this moment to burst out laughing, falling back in the bed. Listen, I'm so sorry, I wasn't thinking, and it just happened. I'm so sorry. Ferry seemed decidedly not angry at his admonition of guilt. He furrowed his brow, cocking his head as he queried, Wait, you're not mad? No, Adam, she managed between bouts of laughter, as she sat back up. I mean, I'm a little mad that she kissed you without permission, but that's neither here nor there. She smiled and continued. I just wish you'd told me you were interested in her. I would have talked to her earlier. Adam's brain chose this moment to completely lock up. He dated people that occasionally wanted to split someone for a night with him in his past, but to him it seemed like Ferry was suggesting outright polyamory. You okay with her wanting to be a thing with me? He asked, completely baffled at the way his night had gone. I mean, she's a little outside the usual taste, but if you want her, I'm fine with it, she replied, her laughter having faded to an amused smile. What? He spoke intelligently. Have you noticed how many males are in our society, Adam? She asked, clearly finding this whole situation hilarious. I mean, I hadn't really met any before coming here, but on seeing one, I just guessed that was because of the size difference affecting enlistment, he replied with a shrug. No, let me put this to you this way, cutie. Males are born at, give or take, an eighth the rate of women in our race, she said, making a so-so gesture with her hand. It's been this way as long as history goes back, and, frankly, our relationships reflect that disparity, she said, smiling. She was clearly enjoying his discomfort. So, your dudes all have harems of Amazonian warrior women? He asked, feeling mildly incredulous at her outright dismissal of his earlier panic. I don't know what an Amazon is, but if you're asking if males usually have a gaggle of women following them around once they're of age, then yes. So, all of your men are constantly trying to split their attention 8 ways then? He asked, now mildly interested at the complete societal 180 from his own. She made the so-so gesture again before continuing. It depends on the male. Some guys have upwards of 10, some less than 5. Every once in a blue moon you'll get a male who just wants one woman, but that's almost fiction at this point, outside of nobility. Adam blanched at the thought of having to keep 10 women happy at the same time. His male prowess was pretty up there, he believed, but the thought of that many people in one family scared him. Listen, said Ferry, taking his hand and pulling him onto the bed. I'll talk to her, okay? I know it's a bit of a culture shock for your one-on-one gender ratio that you have as a species. All I'm asking is that you don't break the poor girl's little heart, okay? Give it a chance. Adam nodded. A point seemed more and more salient the sleepier he got. He allowed her to drag him into bed, enjoying the sensation of her large chest pressing against his spine. Do you want her? She asked softly in his ear. Be honest with me and yourself. No Rikiri padding around, just 100% honesty right now. He let out a shuddering breath, trying to wrangle his thoughts under control. Thinking about it, he realized that he did, in fact, want Slip. Her sharp wit, the enjoyable tension during their duel, and finally his emotions when he saw the hard work and effort she had put into his mask, all confirmed that for him. Assuring himself that being honest with his lover was the best policy, he exhaled the contents of his lungs before he answered. Yes. Okay, she said, planting a kiss in his neck. I'll figure things out with her in the morning. For now, forget everything, and unwind with me. Her warm figure and soft breathing against him. He felt the void calling his name once again. He no longer worried about the nightmare from earlier. He was home. Home, he thought, is where your heart is.